Salams, this is People's Dispatch and you're watching the Daily Roundup, our selection of some of the top news stories from around the world. Let's first take a look at today's headlines. The WHO has warned that Pakistan is under threat of severe health risks and disease outbreaks. Millions in the United Kingdom are at risk of plunging into absolute poverty. Puerto Ricans demand the cancellation of the contract with the company LUMA Energy. And support for trade unions in the United States is at a historic high. First up, the World Health Organization on the 30th of August warned of the imminent public health risks and disease outbreaks that could start affecting people in areas impacted by the massive rainfall and floods in the country of Pakistan. It particularly noted the threat of water and vector-borne diseases such as malaria and dengue fever breaking out among vulnerable populations. The WHO's regional director for the Eastern Mediterranean, Ahmad Al-Mandhari, said, and I quote, "The WHO has initiated an immediate response to treat the injured, provide life-saving supplies to health facilities, support mobile health teams, and prevent the spread of infectious diseases." End quote. The organization's representative in Pakistan further noted that they are stepping up efforts to ensure rapid access to essential health services in flood-affected areas, to strengthen expand disease surveillance, outbreak prevention and control. According to preliminary assessments of the damage done by these floods by the WHO and other humanitarian agencies, the current situation in Pakistan is far more severe than floods in previous years. Even the last massive large-scale flooding in 2010 had less impact on humanitarian conditions in the country, as well as on infrastructure, of course. Reports say that because of abnormal rainfall and flooding that started in June this year, as many as 33 million people in over 110 districts of Pakistan have been affected. 66 of these have been declared the worst hit. The floods have already claimed over 1,000 lives, with 1,500 more suffering serious injuries. As many over 150,000 people have been displaced and are currently living in relief camps. The healthcare infrastructure of the country has been severely affected, with as many as almost 900 health facilities suffering severe damage because of the floods. Another 180 health facilities have been completely destroyed. The natural disaster has had an adverse effect on already prevalent diseases such as waterborne diarrhea, dengue fever, malaria, polio, as well as, of course, COVID-19. Reports also say that cases and numbers for these diseases are rising rapidly. A new report warns that people in the United Kingdom face the prospect of absolute poverty as incomes continue to fall drastically. It forecasts that the next Prime Minister of the UK will be dealing with the biggest fall of living standards in the country in 100 years. According to statistics released by the report, real household disposable incomes are on course to fall by as much as 10% over the next 2 years. This is equivalent to a loss of around 3,000 British pounds in mean disposable incomes for a single UK household by 2023-24. The number of people living in absolute poverty is set to rise by 3 million to as many as 14 million people by that time. It further noted that relative child poverty is projected to reach 33% by 2026-27. That's the highest level it's been since the 1990s. The report says that if the government doesn't act and try to arrest this income crisis before it spirals further out of control, living standards will continue to decline. It also suggests measures such as extending additional government financial support to people towards their energy bills and increasing social security benefit rates in line with October's inflation levels. The report also calls for universal credit to be increased, especially in the months of April and October every year when inflation levels are at their peaks. Another related report expressed concern that a failure on the part of the government to act on this issue will hamper the development of millions of children across the country. The report by the University College London Institute of Health Equity said that high fuel prices and rising poverty are severely affecting health levels in the country. It added that this will have an even worse or a profound impact over the coming winter. The IHE's director, Professor Michael Marmot, further warned that children growing up in cold homes could be facing dangerous consequences. Up to 10 million children could be affected directly or indirectly in terms of health and development. This could additionally cause thousands of extra deaths in both children as well as adults. On Thursday, the 31st of August, there were widespread protests in the capital of Puerto Rico, San Juan, demanding the cancellation of the contract with Canadian American electricity transmission and distribution company LUMA Energy. The protesters demanded the withdrawal of the island's Fiscal Oversight Board as well as the resignation of the governor Pedro Rafael Pierluisi. Members of various groups who were protesting organized a peaceful roadblock with tires on a section of the Luis Munoz Rivera Avenue in front of the Seaborn building where the Office of Fiscal Oversight Board is located. They shouted slogans such as "Get out." A few hours after the protest was staged, police moved to clear the protesters from the road and violently arrested 12 people. This was denounced by the group on its Facebook account, which also mentioned that lawyers weren't allowed to meet those who were arrested. There was condemnation for the police for violating the rights to have legal representation as well as peaceful protest. The group called on people to mobilize against the illegal arrests of their comrades. In the evening, dozens of people gathered outside the Hato-Rey West police station and demonstrated until late in the night. They clarified that they wouldn't leave the premises until their fellows are released. Yesterday's protest was the fourth in a series of demonstrations that began last week. On August 25th, 26th and 27th, thousands of Puerto Ricans took to the streets of San Juan demanding the same cancellation of the energy contract. This is because of constant power blackouts and repeated increases in the price of electricity. Protesters said that since LUMA began operating in the country on the 1st of June 2021, electricity services have worsened and outages have become more frequent because of lack of maintenance. This despite the fact that power rates have been hiked 7 times already in this period. Last week, according to reports, citizens experienced prolonged power outages at least twice a week, in addition to voltage dips multiple times. There were also demands that the State Electric Power Company, PREPA, reassume full control of the system and gradually move towards renewable electricity. And finally, a new US poll released on the 30th of August has revealed that public support for unions has climbed to 71%, the highest it's been since back in 1965. The countrywide poll was conducted by research firm Gallup. It further noted that support for unions in the US has been steadily on the up since back in 2009. This support started rising even faster during the recent coronavirus pandemic outbreak. It further noted that support for unions in the US has been on the up since 2009, a fact that was accelerated during the coronavirus pandemic. However, the poll also said that though support is at a historic high, union participation in the country remains extremely low. 84% of Americans live in a household without any union representatives. Additionally, only 11% among those taking part in the poll said they were extremely interested in joining a union. Gallup said that the pandemic brought into focus a lack of labor rights and protections for workers across the country. This was further highlighted during the pandemic by the fact that many workers were suddenly being called essential by the government and other authorities, and even by private companies. According to Gallup, this contributed to shifting the power dynamic between employers and employees slightly in favor of those who are working. Workers and unions both started experiencing more bargaining powers in their communications and negotiations with company officials. Additionally, low unemployment rates during the pandemic further changed the balance of power. Gallup concludes that over the past couple of years, an environment fostering union membership has been created, and that's resulted in the formation of unions at several high-profile companies. We of course know that workers across sectors, particularly in retail and fast food, coffee, we've talked about Starbucks before, have managed to successfully start the process of organization as well as unionizing, as workers' rights continue to be a major national issue in the US. That's all we have on this episode. Thank you very much for watching. Of course, you can get more details on all of these stories at our website, peoplesdispatch.org. And don't forget to give us a follow on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.